Okay, so let's talk about Hudson Williams, because the way this man went from completely under the radar to one of the most talked about new stars on the internet is honestly unreal. 1 minute, Heated Rivalry is this steamy Canadian series quietly dropping on Crave, and the next minute, it's everywhere. HBO Max picks it up, timelines explode, TikTok edits take over, bars are hosting watch parties, and people who don't even care about hockey somehow know exactly who Shane Hollander is. And right at the center of all that chaos is Hudson Williams. He didn't come from a famous family. He didn't have a decade-long TV resume. He wasn't some industry plant everyone was already watching. He was a working actor, still serving tables, still auditioning, still building his career, and then suddenly, boom, internet obsession. So today, we're breaking down 5 shocking things you didn't know about Heated Rivalry's Hudson Williams, from how fast this fame actually happened, to the background details fans miss, to the behind-the-scenes choices that made his performance hit so hard. Before we jump in, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because Season 2 is coming, and if you think the fandom is loud now, it's about to get even crazier. All right, let's get into it. 1. He was a nobody, then Heated Rivalry blew up. The craziest part about Hudson Williams' rise is just how normal his life was right before everything changed. Hudson wasn't living some glamorous Hollywood lifestyle when Heated Rivalry came along. Like a lot of actors trying to make it work, he was supporting himself by waiting tables while auditioning and creating his own work on the side. He worked as a server at the Old Spaghetti Factory in New Westminster, British Columbia. Heated Rivalry premiered in Canada first, and even then, no one really expected it to turn into what it did. It was a bold, intimate sports romance on a smaller Canadian streaming service. But once HBO Max picked it up for the US, everything shifted overnight. The show didn't just get viewers, it sparked obsession. People weren't casually watching it. They were posting edits, thirst tweets, reaction videos, hosting watch parties, and dragging friends into it like it was a shared cultural emergency. And Hudson went from being relatively unknown to being recognized everywhere in a matter of weeks. The comparison that kept coming up? One Direction level fame. That kind of fame where people scream when you show up somewhere. Where award shows buzz about your arrival even if you're not nominated. Where talk show tapings draw massive crowds just because fans want to catch a glimpse of you. Hudson and his co-star were suddenly seated next to major celebrities at events, being mobbed for selfies, and talked about as the breakout stars of the moment. And the wildest part? All of this happened so fast that, at first, they were reportedly still living very normal lives, living with their parents, while trying to process what was happening. 2. The background detail fans keep missing. A lot of people discovered Hudson through Heated Rivalry and immediately focused on the surface, the chemistry, the confidence, the on-screen intensity. But there's a whole layer to his story that doesn't always get talked about enough. Hudson Williams is Canadian, born on February 13, 2001. Making him 24 years old and an Aquarius. He was born in Kelowna, British Columbia, and raised in Kamloops. He's spoken about growing up in places that don't exactly scream future international TV star, which makes his breakout even more surreal. He's also proudly Asian Canadian. His mother is Korean, and his father is of British and Dutch descent. And Hudson has been open about how meaningful it was, especially for his mom, to see him step into a lead role where his identity wasn't sidelined or ignored. That representation mattered, not just to audiences, but to him personally. Heated Rivalry wasn't just another romance. It put an Asian Canadian character at the center of a story that people around the world were obsessing over, and that doesn't happen often, especially in sports-driven narratives. 3. He was never just an actor. One of the biggest misconceptions about Hudson is that he just showed up, looked good on screen, and got lucky. That's not what happened. Before Heated Rivalry, Hudson was already deeply involved in storytelling, not just as an actor, but as a writer, director, and producer. He went to film school, graduating from the Film Arts program at Langara College in Vancouver in 2020, and he spent years working on short films and creative projects while trying to break in. He wasn't waiting to be discovered. He was making things. Projects like Rancid weren't just resume fillers. They were proof that he cared about storytelling from every angle. That's why his performance in Heated Rivalry feels intentional. He understands character, pacing, and emotional beats because he's worked behind the camera too. And once the show took off, the industry noticed immediately. Hudson signed with Creative Artists Agency, which is a massive signal that Hollywood isn't viewing him as a one-season wonder. That's the kind of move that happens when people expect longevity. There's also an athletic side to him that surprises people. Growing up, Hudson played competitive basketball in high school and trained in mixed martial arts. That background gave him discipline, body awareness, and control, all of which quietly show up in how he carries himself on screen, especially in a role that blends physicality with emotional vulnerability. 4. The naked truth behind those scenes. Now let's talk about the part everyone thinks they understand, the intimacy. Yes, Heated Rivalry is known for being bold and explicit, but what made Hudson's performance stand out wasn't just confidence, it was honesty. Hudson has talked openly about how uncomfortable he used to feel with nudity and vulnerability, especially growing up, and that's why acting became such a powerful outlet for him. I was very uncomfortable being naked, like in high school. It terrified me. But then acting freed me up. For him, being naked on screen wasn't about shock value. It was about learning to let go of shame and fear, emotionally and physically. That mindset is why the intimacy in Heated Rivalry feels grounded instead of performative. Every scene was carefully choreographed with an intimacy coordinator, and Hudson worked closely with his co-star to make sure trust was always there. And through that process, he said he learned a lot about expression, affection, and letting go of the taboos that men especially are taught to carry. That's a good question. I think I had my own biases, maybe that would be too strong of a word, but my own discomfort if I expressed myself fully, physically, and affectionately, both with women and men. It would feel inappropriate. I realized if you really do love someone, platonically or no, I'm such a tactile, sensory person. There are so many taboos. It's much harder on men. I had to let that go, and I got to learn how freeing that is. That honesty is why fans connect so deeply. And it even led to one of the most talked about off-screen moments, the matching sex cells tattoos he and his co-star got as a playful nod to the show. It's cheeky, self-aware, and perfectly on brand. 5. The Shane choice that changed everything. The final reason Hudson's performance hit so hard comes down to one thing: how personally he connected to Shane Hollander. Hudson has revealed that he portrayed Shane with the understanding that the character is on the autism spectrum, and that decision was deeply informed by his own life. He's spoken about his father's neurodiversity and how years of observing that shaped his understanding of Shane's anxiety, sensitivity, and intensity. That's why Shane doesn't feel like a stereotype. He feels real. Hudson connected to the character immediately, even during the audition process. By the time I finished reading episode 6, I was crying. I felt like no one else was allowed to play him. I needed to play him. That level of attachment shows on screen. He's described Shane as affectionate, anxious, determined, and emotionally exposed, a mix that could easily fall flat in the wrong hands. And beyond the performance itself, Hudson has talked about the real-world impact the show has had. He's received messages from closeted athletes who felt seen for the first time. He's watched conversations open up around masculinity, queerness, and vulnerability in professional sports. He and his co-star were even selected as official Olympic torchbearers, which is wild when you think about how recently this all started. Thanks for watching. Now we want to hear from you. Who's your favorite Heated Rivalry character? And what did you think of the show? Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.